Good evening, humans. Tyrannosaurusmoth here, and tonight we're taking a look at the WWE Elite Collection 99 Seth Rollins figure from Mattel. The question is this figure as fabulous as Mr. Rollins himself? Well, let's talk about that. Let's do this. Aesthetically speaking, this figure looks great, and honestly, one of the fun parts about Seth Rollins in figure form is that he has so many different looks at any given time, and certainly over the years that there's so many to choose from, and I'm glad they did this one because this is probably one of my favorites. I'm partial to metallics, as many of you who've watched me before know, but we'll get to that. We'll start with the head sculpt, and definitely a pretty good likeness. It has more of a kind of plasticine toy look, and I think that's partially just the expression, and it's also that there's some other better Seth Rollins face sculpts out there. So I think this is definitely not the best. It's probably not the worst. Haven't been collecting wrestling figures as long as Elite has been around, certainly. But so definitely decent. Then the buck they choose is definitely good. Maybe a little more cut than he actually is, but still looks right. You get the essence of who he is there. And then moving on to the ring gear itself. And I love this gear. The kind of abstract pattern, the metallics are very, very nice. Everything's very crisp. Love the gold, especially for the kick guards. Just really well done. Unfortunately, I got a little scuff of black paint there on the top of the left foot of mine, but not too bad. Just a little unfortunate. But overall, just really cool. And now that I'm seeing this through the lens, I guess the only other thing I got to point out is that it looks like the torso and the arms are slightly different shades, which I guess you don't notice it as much in person. Part of that is the lights beaming on this, and that certainly my phone camera itself. But so that's not as noticeable in person if you are seeing that the way I am seeing it. But overall, it's a really cool looking figure. We get a relatively basic loadout of accessories, but there's nothing wrong with that, and I suspect I know the reason. It's gonna be the last thing we get to. So first we just get a pair of hands, and so we get our requisite C-grips, and we get kind of our palms up, palms out, semi-relaxed. I wouldn't really call that relaxed, but yeah, those types of hands. You can see them. And then finally, we get his entrance jacket, and I love this. I'm just happy they, again, did this look. Oh, I did not notice that before. But overall, jacket is really well constructed. This is super, super soft as well. So yeah, the fur that they did here is great. It definitely feels awesome. Obviously the details are printed, just a little bit easier to do that. But I mean, the cut of everything itself, it definitely feels quality. It's kind of a pleather sort of feel to it, that fake leathery stuff. And they got all the details of it. It feels nice. It looks fantastic on the figure. So definitely very, very good stuff. And that's accessories. Articulation here is definitely decent, and as you can see can hold a freestanding kick. I almost didn't get this, so I wasn't really sure, and I'll get to why at the end. But this is pretty much our standard configuration for Elite Collection. So we have that barbell in the head, so we're getting a little bit of down, not getting really any up because of that hair sculpt, and we are getting a little bit of tilt here and there, so that's nice. We have hinge and swivel at the shoulder, so we're coming out to our perfect T. We have bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, bring us to there. Hinge and swivel at the wrists, all horizontal. I don't think they've done vertical in this line yet. We get our standard ab crunch, so we're getting that far forward. There's our arch back. There's our neutral. We get waist swivel. Our hips come out to here, which is definitely decent. As you saw with the kick, that's about as high as I can get it. So, there's definitely been elites with a little bit more range than that. And our front kick come to about there, so not really 90. Then we get thigh swivel, double jointed knees, bring us to about there. We do have knee pads, so these are, pardon me, a knee pad plus this little protective piece on the left leg, and it doesn't hinder it too much. So boot swivel, and we get perfect point. Get only a little bit of forward because of the sculpt on the kick pads themselves. And the thing I was talking about earlier is the rocker. We can come in, but we can't go out. So we're kind of limited a little bit there with the space. Plus, as some of these elites are, they're a little loose. So we're just getting that. We're getting rocker, but it's only going in. So that's articulation. Getting into size comparisons, here he is with some other WWE figures. with some other wrestling lines, with some Hasbro and some Mattel, with some imports, with some monsters. Finally, with Articulated Icons, Oni and yours truly in human form as a Valverse Action Force figure. So my final thoughts on the WWE Elite Collection 99 Seth Rollins figure from Mattel is that this is a great figure. You know, maybe not the best Elite, but it's definitely very, very solid. It's a good representation of Rollins himself. And, you know, we're getting an Ultimate Edition of Rollins soon, so that will definitely probably set the bar for all the future figures. But for now, this is definitely very good, especially with this gear. Again, I love this gear, so I'm glad that they got this figure out. And yeah, so I'd absolutely recommend this if you're a fan of Seth Rollins, you're collecting WWE figures, etc. So I will have links below to where you can pick this up, and it's available on various online retailers. So check that out if you are so interested. I want to thank you so much for watching. Hope you found this review informative and somewhat entertaining. If you did, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, all of that stuff. Other ways to help the channel in the description below. And after all that, I just hope you join me again, because I do at least 3 reviews a week of action figures related to tokusatsu, dinosaurs, monsters, pro wrestling, and more. So yeah, come on back and let's talk some toys. And all that being said, I hope that you are well. I hope that all your toy dreams come true. And most importantly, I hope that you and yours stay weird, simians.